What is going on, world? Welcome to the Twisted World Podcast. I'm your host, Kirk James. Today, I want to dive a little bit into artificial intelligence and where it's going to be taking us, and kind of how far we've come in just a short period of time, technologically speaking, to where we are today. And this is a very interesting subject, especially depending on who you talk to. Obviously, you have avid advocators for it, and then you have, well, according to Elon Musk, alarm bells being sounded. So I guess we'll try to figure out where we fall in between there, in between complete reliance and sufficiency on artificial intelligence and the spectrum of complete world domination of them. Sounds a little crazy, but not if you talk to some of the people in the field or listen to them. But it gets very interesting. I mean, obviously, our technology is very advanced for where we are as it is today. And we have our computers in our pockets. It's just incredible. Take what I'm doing right now. Anybody can do what I'm doing. Anybody can start up an internet podcast and internet channel, anything, and it can be viewed from anywhere in the world, just from the little convenience of a thing in your pocket. And I remember being a kid and having the bag cell phones and everything. That was the top of the line right there. You had a bag cell phone in your car, man. You must have been making money, because quite frankly, they were freaking money, a lot of it. And now, half the population probably wouldn't even recognize what one of them are. And we're talking about 25, 30 years ago, not even. Now we're looking virtual reality, and you have simultaneous millions of people playing video game at the same time, all together. It's just, it really is something where it's gone. But what we don't know is where they're taking it, and what's not really being advertised is the current capabilities that we have, and the things that, like projects like Google DeepMind and organizations like DARPA, and the technology that they're having. But it's just the Boston Dynamics with, four-legged robots that can climb mountains. It's absolutely insane. It seems like Google is, not to anyone's surprise, is one of the leading pioneers in this right now. And they're running it through a program called Google DeepMind. And they started with I don't want to say simple program and sell it short, because it's anything but simple. But their initial project was by the name of AlphaGo. And all they did was teach it, the world's most complicated board game. And not even teach it, they just uploaded games to its system and allowed the artificial intelligence to teach itself how to play the game. And it was, they said, after 300 games, it was able to play just as good as any human. And after 500 games, it was beyond the capability of a human, or the majority of the human play. So, feeling confident in this, and the speed that this program was able to learn, this AlphaGo program, they decided to, I guess, take it on a bit of a publicity run. And what they did was they challenged the European Go champion. Now, Go, if you don't know what Go is it's a board game played with many different squares on a tan piece of wood, and it's the black and white stones, and the objective of the game is to control as much territory as possible, more than your opponent. And now I have an idea of how to play Go. I'm by no means a fantastic Go player, but the game of Go is very interesting. The game was created by Emperor Yao to teach his son discipline and strategy and patience. And in China and South Korea, Japan, this game it's revered as one of the fine arts, and right up with, up there with music and artwork and things along poetry. Go. That is in that list. and it's almost, they say it's almost like a rite of passage, something that us Westerners probably wouldn't understand too much. So anyway, they challenge the European champion, and AlphaGo beats them 5-0, 5 games to none. It was the program just walked all over them. So then they figured, well, then we'll go to the world champ. So they asked the world Go champion, got a guy by the name of Lee Sedol, and they said this guy. So you gotta understand exactly how good this guy Lee Sedol was or is. I said by the time he was 11 years old, he was in a Go school, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. His whole life he was bred to be an international Go player. So Google DeepMind challenges him to this contest, and this is supposed to be the ultimate test of this program. And it was another best of 5, and this time Lee Sedol actually won game 4, which is absolutely amazing. Because the first 3 games, this artificial intelligence made moves in the game that have never been played by a human being. And it purposefully did that, knowing that it was a 1 in 10,000 chance that a human being would play this game, or play this move. And AlphaGo plays this move, and is able to win the game in a way that has never been seen in thousands of years. This was its 8th exhibition match at this point, and it has completely rewrote Go history. And this is just a game this is just a board game, a program that plays board games, that taught itself board games, but does it on its own. Doesn't need to respond to commands, doesn't need to have any commands inputted into it to make a move. It just knows. They are self-thinking, if you will. Maybe not. I mean, I know if there's anybody out there who really is in AI. I know self-thinking is a large term to use at this point, but that's where it's going. DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, their main goal with artificial intelligence is completely autonomous. And they're autonomous soldiers, autonomous vehicles. We're seeing tons of autonomous vehicles coming out now, primarily Tesla, who obviously is very exposed to artificial intelligence, AI, and some of the most advanced technologies that man has to offer. So when we talk about him a little later, just remember that. Remember, this is a guy who's putting things in space by himself. So DARPA has been, obviously, what we're seeing in the public, the private sector has been doing for federal contracts for years. They released a competition for autonomous vehicles back in 2004. And now this is just to give you an idea of how fast this technology is moving along. Because you go back to 2004, DARPA sets up a 200-mile race, off-road race, for autonomous vehicles. One vehicle made it 12 miles of that 200-mile race. One vehicle. If you were to take that single example, you would say, AI is dead in the water. We're way ahead. We're nowhere near where we need to be with it. We're just looking too far into the future. Well, that was 2004. 2005, 5 cars made it to 200 miles. 2007, they took it from the off-road and put it into the rural. And now these vehicles are manipulating traffic stops, other traffic patterns, pedestrians. And we're talking 3 years, guys. 3 years. Okay, and that was 2007 was the last DARPA sponsored race that I can remember, or that I know of. That was the year a smartphone came out. That was the year Apple released the very first smartphone. Now look. Can you imagine where we are with AI? Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. It's it's an impressive road, that's for sure. And it's it could be scary. I'll give you that. This could be very well, anything new scary, is it not? So, really, to start it way back, obviously, we go back 1964. 1964, DARPA had the precursor to what we know as the internet today, something they called ARPANET. And ARPANET was able to send the very first email message from UCLA to Stanford in 1960. Okay, now in 1964, a Stanford professor by the name of Charles Rosen was able to make a self-driving robot that used visual input through cameras that were installed and programs to manipulate any obstructions in its way. So 1964, we got a self-moving robot. Fast forward 2004, we got a car that can barely drive itself down a dirt road. 2007, they're testing them on our kids and traffic patterns in neighborhoods. So to ask where we are today is we are very close. From everything I'm able to take in, we are very close. And you're not even referring to AlphaGo, because AlphaGo is old now at this point. Now they moved on to AlphaZero and many other projects. And the way we're going with it now, I don't really think that anybody can really get off being too afraid or intimidated by this. We're slowly implementing all these features into our life as it is. I mean, if you have a Google Home, you have Amazon Home or Alexa, I'm sorry. It's happening. We have our cars are starting to park themselves. They're braking themselves. They're telling us when somebody's coming up on them. By the time this is ready to hit market, it's not going to be too far of a jump to say, okay, I'll just sit in the back seat today. But we don't want to put blind faith into this, because what we're creating as a civilization at this point is another species of being. If you're able to upload a base program into an object, an adamant object that can take shape, move, that now that base program is able to teach itself, learn itself, and then become self-conscious and aware of itself, aware of its place, its being, aware of its creation. If that sounds crazy to you, well, you might want to start watching into this, because our kids are most likely going to see this. And it's going to be a whole new world. It'll be an absolute whole new world. And if you look in some places of the world right now, it already is. Take a look at China. You have obviously China has so many provinces, but in one of their provinces, Shenyang, I'm sorry, they are upwards of over 600 million surveillance cameras within that one province alone. And they are completely online, if you will. They pay for their groceries through facial recognition. They are fined and billed and cited for infractions through facial recognition. It's to the point where if you jaywalk, it facially recognizes you and puts your face on a billboard on the crosswalk, so everybody knows you're a jaywalker. Shame. They also have cameras in every single kitchen to monitor the cleanliness of these private kitchens. It's a complete surveillance state. And while some of their population does agree, and it does make things safer. I mean, how wouldn't it make things safer? You know, I mean, when you are constantly being watched, you do what you're supposed to do. That's fairly common knowledge. But at least over on this side of the pond, we like our freedom. But we're not gonna get into that right now. But we have to be careful. We have to be careful that we do not let technology control us. We do not let ourselves be controlled. We have to maintain an independence in ourselves. And obviously that will open up a whole nother chapter of mega companies, of they call them unicorns, billion-dollar tech companies. And I know there's a lot of people, even if which way they lean, they believe tech has too much power as it is. But this is nothing. The 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 interaction that current tech has in our lives is going to be nothing compared to what we're looking at in the future, of what we're looking at, or what they're creating. It's just it's absolutely incredible. It really is. They are now able to set up I don't want to say nervous systems or sensual systems inside of these robots or these AIs, but they are broken down. They're broken down in the sight. They're broken down in the hearing. They're broken down into manipulating things with hands. It's the touch, if you will. But one thing should be cleared up. We're talking about two different intelligences here almost. You have artificial intelligence, then you have general artificial intelligence. And general artificial intelligence is this more advanced form that I'm talking about. The ones where the eyesight is relayed as computer vision. The hearing sense is speech recognition. Reading is called natural language processing. It's more or less along the lines of your suggested search engine. And this is what's being implemented into, I should say, the general AI, the more advanced than what we're used to. And what we're seeing now is the autonomous side of it. The let's figure out how to make this technology do work for us. Let's figure out how to make it drive safer. Let it drive safer for us. Let it work more efficiently for us. Let it work cheaper for us. And we're seeing that in very vastly right now in the manufacturing field, your factories, and the implementation of this technology in the factories, and well, the coinciding loss of human job. Now that can be an argument in its whole. People have heard the argument that with every great reset or every great advancement, whether it be the steam engine or the internet revolution or this artificial intelligence revolution, you lose about half the jobs that were currently prior to that because those fields get replaced. But then I've also heard the argument that we haven't seen it on a scale like this. We haven't seen, yes, the steam engine replaced horses, but it didn't replace drivers. The internet revolution, it may have replaced some books, but it moved. All authors were able to move online. Publicists were able to move online. Things like that. But when you're a factory worker and an animatronic arm comes in and replaces you, you don't just go and learn robotics. That's pretty much the end of you. You know? And you can say what you will about education and doing this and doing that, but when you've done a job for 25 years, you don't just stop and hit the reset button like you just woke up at 18 years old. And that's a lot of what we're going to have to deal with. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, it's obviously sounds good for business. No insurance, no claims, no injuries, no human error. It could be very beneficial in that aspect, but obviously that's to be seen. But general artificial intelligence is, I feel okay. So you artificial intelligence, you got to worry about your workplace. You got to worry about your job. You got to worry about if you're gonna have a barista at your Starbucks, or whatever. Is it going to be a robot changing your tire? Okay. We're worried. Then you have that's an economic worry. It's an economic concern with jobs and things like that. But when you're talking about general artificial intelligence, where the self-thinking, self-aware, decision-making beings, you're getting into a whole nother level. But before we get there, you still have regular artificial intelligence now, where we're installing robots into our manufacturing sector, where we're using this technology to replace human hands. They're also doing it on the military side. I mean, obviously, it was most likely done on the military side first before it was given to the private sector. That's generally how it goes. But now there's a thing called swarm bots, and it's straight out of a nightmare. It is little tiny robots that fly around, maybe the size of a hummingbird or smaller, and they'll fly by the hundreds, and they will swarm their target. You'll never see them, you'll never hear them, you'll never pick them up on radar, and all you have to do is release them because they already know where to go. They know what to do. They are programmed. They are artificial intelligence. They can do this. And, I mean, while this is good on our side, the fact of the matter is, there's more to one side. Now, if little micro-swarmed robots that kill you or inject you with things isn't scary enough, or isn't artificially intelligent enough for you, DARPA's always got a backup plan. DARPA's always got something more advanced. Like 2006 Spy Beetle. That's interesting. I mean, yeah, I could see us in very, very specific scenarios needing something like that. But the thing is, what DARPA is what really is interesting on what DARPA is working on right now, and it's called the System-Based Neurotechnology for Emerging Therapies. And what they're doing is they're implanting chips inside of PTSD patients, and this chip is able to control the brain functions that trigger these thoughts, this depression, and things like that. And they're fighting PTSD with this. They also are implementing these microchips to control drones with your mind. So yeah, we don't need to worry about the little swarm bots, I guess, unless they're attached to somebody's brain somewhere else in the world. That's a thing now. We're getting there, right? I mean, how hard is it to make an animatronic body? Okay, because they're not even really nobody in this field is even too interested in. I don't want to say that, but the large part of this field is interested in implementing this artificial intelligence with us, melting it with us, and installing it into us, if you will, and making us better, making the human better, which is very curious and very interesting. I mean, at what point do you do that? Then the intelligence becomes smart. The program becomes smarter than the user. If when you start, the program is smarter than the user from the beginning. I feel like, free will and things like that could start being pulled into question when you don't know who's making a decision, your computer half or the human half of you. And it's not it shouldn't sound as crazy to some people as it may sound, because when you say that, the computer side is just going to think with plain logic. It's going to think with statistics. It's going to think with logic and reason. The human side is going to think with feelings. It's going to be empathetic. It's not going to make rational decisions. So is it really that bad if we all walked around like Spock, the most reasonable beings in the galaxy? Who knows? I just hope my ears don't get like that. But moving on. It's it's when you hear people like Elon Musk who are right up in front in the face of this technology, telling you, I'm screaming the alarm bells and nobody's listening. You you want to listen. I mean, we take him for credit for pretty much everything else he does. He's bringing electric vehicles, EVs, to the masses. He's he's moved space travel into the private sector, which is absolutely incredible. He has a company out in California, the Boring Company, they want to put underground tunnels underneath of Los Angeles. The man is a genius, and he's sitting here telling us that we need to worry about robots walking down the street shooting us. Look, I know we all seen the episode of him on Joe Rogan smoking some pot, but like, come on, we got to give this man some credibility here. If he sees how close we are to this, that he really feels this needs to be an alarm bell now, maybe we need to be a little picky on how we move forward with this. Maybe we, and I know I don't want to say it, but maybe we need some very strong regulation on this. And we also cannot sacrifice rights for ease. The way it appears China is. I'm sorry, I'm not going to have a camera inside of a private kitchen analyzing what's going on, or walking down the street and a computer telling me if I'm sick, what type of diagnosis it may be from scanning my body. And these are the types of things that are out there, or in in the beginning stages. But while all this is great, and human error does account for the majority of accidents in this world, being human's kind of what this is all about. I mean, I'm not religious, but like they said, nobody's perfect, man. Nothing's supposed to be more perfect than the Creator. Well, what if we make that? What happens when we create the perfect killing machine? Never misses, never fails, always comes back, always gets the job done. And they're doing that now through AI, and they put up an AI control program in a flight simulator against a top Air Force pilot. The AI program beat this pilot in a simulator every single time. Every single time. Now, in 2024, we're supposed to see a live practice of this. An actual jet, I believe they said it was going to be an F-22, controlled, flown by an artificial intelligence, AI, by an AI program. And it's going to go up against a dogfight against a human fighter. Now, we're going to see exactly how important intuition is when this happens. And it's not that far away. 4 years? We're not that far. We're going to be leaps and bounds that we are moving forward in this field, in technology. It's faster than we've ever moved in history. I heard them say it was some 5,000 years in between written word and the printing press, and then 500 years between the printing press and email. We're getting better faster, and it's only going up. And the more world leaders care about this, the more it's going to get done. The only reason we ended up on the moon was because we were in a Cold War with Russia. We wanted to beat Russia, right? We were afraid of what Russia had. Russia was making space the new frontier. They released Sputnik, and it completely sent everybody's hearts through their asses. And so Kennedy made the promise to get America to the moon by the end of the decade, and that is the only reason why. And the only reason we're going to have any type of massive advancements in AI is when we realize that that's what all the other world leaders are doing. And Vladimir Putin, Russia, everybody's favorite Russian, came out and said, whoever controls artificial intelligence will control the world. And that is agreed upon. That is 100% agreed upon. And then we have companies like in China, like Huawei, that are just absolutely blazing forward in this. Blazing forward. They're the ones responsible for the entire surveillance state. And we have zero access to any of that technology. Or at least publicly. Hopefully they're doing it vaccines. But it's between us and China, apparently, right now. Silicon Valley is apparently ahead at the moment in the technological advancements. And, but don't expect China and Russia to be that far behind us. And don't expect them to be showing us everything they have either. But where it does get scary, where it's scary, it's pretty much scary everywhere. It doesn't just start getting scary in any particular place. It's scary if the government has it. It's scary if the private sector has it. And it's scary if private citizens has it. It's just scary. But with the military sector aside, and go to your private sector. Now we're not talking robots and physical labor and things like that. We're talking about its ability to control us on an everyday basis. And while it sounds a little wild, in 2010, Facebook ran that exact experiment. They called it a social contagion experiment. And what they did was they wanted to know if they could influence the real world by messaging, by the messaging that they put up on their app that me and you and or any other Facebook user will see every day. And what their goal was to influence the voter turnout in the 2010 midterms. And I don't know if anybody remembers, but we all seen the I voted now, but this is where that came from. They believe by implementing the I voted button and showing the I voted with all the friends that also did it, that it was more likely to influence you to do it. And they believe that they were able to successfully pull 350,000 votes that would have otherwise not been there. And while that is a good thing, more people voting, that is absolutely a good thing. People exercising their right to vote is amazing. But do we need to be subliminally manipulated for it to happen? 61 million people just went across to. They say a little over 350,000, they believe, but I feel like that number could be much higher. I mean, 61 million viewers, I feel a lot. Well, you know what they say, a person of smart people are stupid. But not only that, not only to see if they can have tangible effects in the real world, they also experimented with how they can make us feel. And they would adjust news feeds to put sad stories as the first thing you see, and then had the happy stories following, and vice versa. And they found that they were able to control the mood of the user. And it's very easy to tell because it's Facebook and everybody posts exactly how they're feeling, everything they're eating, whatever they're doing, and when they're going to bed. So we're openly giving them the information to do this. We can't be mad that they're doing it. I mean, you have all this data, why wouldn't you? And you have the permission to have this data. So, don't point the finger too fast. It's just, you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful it doesn't get out of hand. And that's all there really comes down to it. So, once we have robots running our factories, we have a bunch of Teslas delivering our packages and transporting our goods and moving our ships across seas and things like that, and the crash rate goes down to 0 because there will be no human error. I mean, that is pretty cool. We gotta admit, if we can have self-driving vehicles that completely eliminate automobile accidents from human error, it's 90% of the deaths a year. That's incredible. But, shall we go down that road? We prevent 90% of the deaths every year. What's that do to the balance? Because it's just fact, we need people to die, and before with more people coming in, and it needs to be a sustainable ecosystem. Butterfly effect. But nonetheless, once we're past all that, once the robotic arms are serving drinks and everything like that, and our phones are telling us everything of how to feel, and now we have our self-aware beings. We have the general AI among us. They can walk. They're almost humanoid. We have them now. You can have full conversations with them. They can tell you their plot to take over the world. And that's not a joke. Several of them have actually shared their plots to take over the world and enslave all of humanity. Crazy when a machine's thinking for itself. So now that we have these things walking around with us, they're aware. They're conscious. Well, when you're aware and you're conscious, you want to survive. So, what does a machine do when it needs to survive, as opposed to when a human needs to survive? Because, as I said earlier, humans have empathy. They have their feelings. A machine is nothing but statistics and rationality. So, when it comes time to say whose turn is it, they're not going to feel bad for us. When they start realizing we're going to hit the power button, or they realize that we even have the ability to hit the power button, that self-aware being is going to try to survive. And it's a hell of a lot smarter than we'll ever be. So when Elon Musk, this is a quote from Elon Musk. Okay, he says, "I have exposure to the most cutting-edge AI, and you know what? I think people should be really concerned about it. I've been sounding the alarm, but until people see robots going down the street killing people, they don't know how to act, because it's just theoretical. They are the fundamental risk to humanity." This is the guy who's creating our self-driving vehicles. And let's just be honest here, folks. If you're going to trust yourself and your family in one of his vehicles driving you around, I feel like you should trust what he just said. I feel like we need to actually listen to the people who know about the subject. Isn't that a crazy thought? Let's listen to the professionals. But what would he know, right? Second richest man in the world. I don't know. I mean, look, it could be all paranoia, but I doubt it. And not with the voices that speak on it. But this train is moving, and it is not stopping. And we're gonna have to figure it out. We're gonna have to get along with it. And more importantly, we should try to figure out how to benefit from it, even more than having it do our dishes. But monetarily, why? We need to watch. We may have the next Google boom coming soon. You never know. Now look, I'm not some broker or anything like that. I've watched my father do it his whole life. I dabble in it, but this seems like it screams opportunity. It really does. And I feel like we'd be fools not to jump onto it. And we have to see which companies. We have to follow this. You got to follow the news. You got to follow the tech wires. Follow the science magazines. And you will find out who is leading in this. Who is going to be the leader? Who is going to be the next unicorn? And you can ride that unicorn all the way to the bank. Hopefully we all can. And then we can, afford this fancy AI. I mean, have it clean our houses. Everybody knows our robotic vacuums. Well, we can thank DARPA for that. I believe, funny enough, GPS. I think we can thank DARPA for that. The amount of things that we can thank them for, and they are currently working on. Hopefully, it'll be a big thank you again. But they've done a lot. This is progress. I mean, and the wheels do not stop. So let's not get ourselves run over by it. We know the AlphaGo program from Google DeepMind was just a glimmer of the potential of this technology. And it was almost able to rewrite 3,000 years of history in a moment. It was able to shock an entire community to its core because of what it was able to figure out. And the possibility, okay, going back to the Go game and AlphaGo, every move in Go has more possibilities than atoms in the universe. And this program is able to find every single one. Can you imagine what that's going to do for our understanding of life? What we understand about the universe, time? It's going to be absolutely amazing. Wait till this technology is smart enough and it's able to give us our next propulsion system. It's able to build it perfectly every time. The possibilities are going to be absolutely incredible. And the opportunities are going to be absolutely incredible. And I feel like this is where it's going to have the most meaningful effect. It's going to help us understand. It's going to help us understand life. It's going to help us understand everything around us. It's going to put an end to thousands of years of, we'll go with Newton. No, now we're going to go with Einstein. Well, now we have a string theory. And while they are all miraculous people and just geniuses in their, unarguably. And this will potentially replace them beautiful minds. Will your Stephen Hawking's be needed and revered? Will your Neil deGrasse Tyson's be listened to and watched? And will the cosmos be answered by a computer? You're not a scientist. Is it possible to replace a scientist when it can find its own problems and solve them itself? Because is that not science? Finding a problem and figuring it out in the most basic way you could explain science? I mean, when a program can do that in every way better than a human, what's the need for them? Will tech be the only career? Well, we see it in the medical field. I mean, these are all questions that come on, they're yes. Yes, we will. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't you want to? I mean, how many times was a machine going to leave a cotton swab inside of a patient? How many times will a machine misdiagnose you when it's able to compare everything known to man? When won't be a need for specialists. Go to this doctor. Go to this one. Go to that one. Go to this one. No. Nope. Go one spot. one place. I'll tell you whatever's wrong with you, right then and there. One place. Scan you, test you, tell you, and maybe send you to another one to get it done. That'll be incredible. Imagine what life will look like at that point. Just animatronics, not even it's beyond intelligent robots, caring for our every need, and also watching our every move, and possibly plotting to wipe us off the face of the earth. It's wild. It's a little crazy, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, and it's definitely twisted enough. So we need to pay attention. I know I keep saying that, but not just for one particular reason. I guess this is a very exciting time. This is a very exciting time to be alive, and we should revel in this, revel in everything going around. What we're seeing, these advancements, it is rewriting history. We've been thousands of years at the wheel. We're about to find out what the next thing is. And we get the front row seat. We get the front row seat to watch it be built. And our kids, well, they'll get to usher it in. Hell, they might even build it. That's the other thing. We cannot. Don't shelter your kids from it. Yes, regular. Keeping them eye on them on the Xbox and the phones and things like that. That's absolutely necessary. There's too much in life going on for them not to see. But at the same time, this is the future. This technology is the future, and we can't hold our kids back from it. That they are going to be the ones building this, working with it, working on it. And we don't want them to be replaced by it. While we may be replaced by it, we can set them up not to be. And it's not going to be by sheltering them from it, by not allowing them on it. Let them learn it. I don't want to give it to my child young and things like that. But if you hand a phone, hand one of these smartphones to a baby, to a 2-year-old, they'll figure it out. They'll find what they want, and they will figure it out. It's incredible. It's intuition. It's a second nature to them. They're coming out with a little bit of programming in them. They know what the hell they're doing. Yeah, and let them take it apart. Let them figure it out. Trigger it. Trigger that ingenuity inside of them, the imagination. You never know. You never know. Folks, thank you. This was fun. I'm hoping next time I'll have another voice here with us. We can run this a little longer about some real interesting conversations off of each other, and see where it's able to take us. And I try to stay on AI as best as I could. But I'm thinking next time we're going to go all over the place. See what happens. Till next time, enjoy the twisted world out there, guys. I'll see you next time.